Today we are talking shotguns. We've got a bunch of different shotguns to talk about, maybe like three or four. We're just going to kind of go through the wiki and see what happens. And I'm also talking about I still have it up here, but the Ruger Wrangler. And then in front of me we have the Heritage. Um, but yeah, we're talking shotguns today. So we have the Keltec KSG, really cool shotty. Then we're moving on to the Beretta 1301, another awesome shotgun. Then we have some honorable mentions in between. Thanks for liking up the live, appreciate it. And then we have our Mossberg 500 chainsaw, which is pretty cool. Anyways, the chainsaw is, excuse me, is a shotgun. It's just the Mossberg 500, but they have a grip on the top of it. So basically, you pump it from the top by pulling the grip back. It's pretty cool. I'll show you guys a picture of it here soon. But before we get started, let's go ahead and look at some of these other shotguns that we had on the list. One of them that I thought was really cool, like honorable mention, I guess you could say, would be the Rossi Circuit Judge. I don't know if you know what the Rossi is, but it is tight. It's a multi-caliber too. The Circuit Judge imported, imported by Rossi USA, is unlike anything else that you're gonna find on the shelves. This long gun represents a marriage of the revolver carbines of the late 1800s with the modern double action 45 Colt / 410 Taurus, which is pretty cool. So now this thing is fitted with interchangeable chokes, which can be traded out depending on the ammunition that you're firing. So again, you can fire all sorts of 410 shotgun shells out of this, birdshot, slugs, buckshot, all different kinds. That is cool. I'm gonna show you guys what this thing looks like. This is the Rossi Circuit. So picture the Judge, but in a rifle format, and then it's also interchangeable with the 45 Colt with the 410. So that's pretty cool. Model 1897 was always a favorite of mine. Right on, let's go ahead and check out the, what was it, 1897. Mossberg 1897, let's check it out. 1897. I think almost all the Mossberg lines are really cool, honestly. Oh yeah, that's a pretty one. I like the lines here. It also has all these holes all up along the barrel. Let's see if I can find a picture of it. Open, new window. Oh, it keeps moving me to the Battlefield fandom. I'll just show the page, you guys can see it. Pretty cool, pretty cool. That's funny that it just keeps populating like Battlefield, because it's also in video games, I guess. So yeah, that's the Mossberg 1897. So we're gonna go ahead and start talking about the ones that we had on the list. So the first one that we have up is our Keltec, and I will go ahead and pull up a picture here if I can find that. So this, come on now. There we go. Oh, come on. Here's our Keltec. That thing looks freaking awesome. I love that. That's a really cool piece right there. So let's go ahead and read about it. So the Keltec is a bullpup 12 gauge pump action shotgun. I like how like tiny it is too. It seems to only be about this long, maybe like 2 feet. Now, the KSG has 2 tube magazines, which the user of the gun could switch between manually. Each tube holds up to 2.75 inch 70 millimeter, or basically 12 gauge shot shells, or six 3 inch 76 millimeter shot shells. Now, the Keltec has an overall length of 633 millimeters. There's also a larger variant which holds 24 plus 1 rounds, which is insane. I love that for just a little tiny shotgun. Like, that's cool. Now, the barrel locking is achieved by a swinging edge located inside the top bolt, which engages the barrel extension. The sliding forend is connected to the bolt by dual operating bars. The ammunition feed is from 2 independent tubular magazines located below the barrel. Now, let's see. Now, the initial release of the KSG had a mixed reception, with some having flawless experiences and others having various issues, ranging from the selector switch breaking to double feeding. If your selector switch is breaking, that's a big issue right off the bat. Other improvements to the KSG on the second generation include a trigger reset, small shell tube peepholes, and a fix of the action release to be easier use and ambidextrous. That's pretty cool. So next we're looking at the Beretta. Now this is the Beretta 1301. This is also a shotgun, and I really like the look of this thing too. I'll show you guys. That's a really cool piece too. Now let's kind of read about the Beretta here. Now the Beretta 1301, excuse me, is a gas-operated semi-automatic shotgun produced by Beretta and imported to the USA. Now it has 2 distinct models: the 1301 Tactical, which is basically for use for self-defense and law enforcement applications, where the 1301 Competition is designed for practical shooting. Now, despite its intended applications, it is also used by a minority of hunters and clay pigeon shooters. So you can use this thing for hunting. I think when people take a gun like this and they use it for something that it's not really supposed to, it's just because the gun looks so cool. So you want to like impress whoever you're with. Now, the A400 earlier, less successful TX4 Storm, and it shares many similarities with the Beretta's A400 line of shotguns, which are successors to the A391 series. All modern 13, like their A400 counterparts, make use of Beretta proprietary choke construction system known as the Optima Choke HP. One exception is the LE model and the early tactical model, which both used a fixed cylinder barrel without constrictions. Let's see here. Now, the 1301 Tactical began production in Italy in 2014, and it initially received poor sales due to its relatively high price tag. As a result, the 1301 employed various cost-saving measures, such as changing the rear sights and Picatinny rail from machine metal to polymer, and the removal of the rubberized grips found on the forend and grip. Let's see, how did they improve it? So they improved it by enlarging a polymer charging handle and an oversized bolt release lever, which doubles as a magazine ejection button. That's pretty cool. They also have a Gen 2, all the way up to, I guess, like a Gen 4. Now, all 1301 shotguns use cold hammer forged barrels with chrome lining. The receiver frame is made from aluminum with an anodized finish, and the stock and forearm are made from polymer with a rubberized recoil pad fastened to the rear of the stock. Excuse me. Magazine capacity and limitations. Now, base magazine capacity varies on the model and regulations. In some countries, models can have magazine extensions for increased capacity. The 1301 ships with 2 removable plastic restrictors to reduce the magazine capacity to either 2 rounds or 3 rounds in order to conform to various hunting regulations. That's pretty cool. So you can still use the gun to hunt if you're not. And again, the fact that they restrict how many shells that you can have in your gun while you're hunting is absolutely insane. Yo, 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 what is up? What is up? Yes, sir. Subscribe or else. Um, Good to see you. I was at work while you were in the shop earlier. When I was watching your live, I was just hanging out. I was bored, man. It was a long day, dude. But I was glad somebody was having fun. Consumers can install aftermarket magazine tubes for increased capacity in countries where the regulations allow. The lifter can be manipulated in order to load one extra round between the bolt and lifter. This practice is known as ghost loading, and it is common amongst competition shooters. That's pretty cool. I've never heard of the ghost load before. I know you do some competition shooting. Let's see, what did it say? I went to IDPA. I'm not familiar with what that is. So we just talked about the Keltec KSG, and then now we're talking about the Beretta 1301. So now let's go to the one that I really was like interested in. What does it say? Oh, no shotgun? Man, you gotta get yourself a shotgun, man. This is the Mossberg 500 chainsaw. So let's take a look at this. This thing is badass. This is called the chainsaw. And look how that slide works. So you have that lever that you hold on to on the front, and then you just launch that thing backwards, which is really cool. Again, that's called the chainsaw. So Mossberg 500 is a series of pump action shotguns. Ooh, I just got a crazy cramp in my foot. That hurts. Designed in 1961 by Carl Benson, the Mossberg 500 was created mainly for use by hunters, but quickly found itself in use by law enforcement because of its reliability and low cost. In the 70s, the M500 was submitted for military use, but failed to meet the MIL Spec 344E protocol, which involves firing 3,000 rounds of shells with no more than 2 malfunctions. That is, honestly, that's a pretty interesting standard. I mean, I've always like understood that they would have standards when you bring a firearm to the military for testing. But the fact that that's what you have to do for a shotgun is fire 3,000 rounds through it with no more than 2 malfunctions. Man, and also, do they have someone manually doing that, or do you just like set it up on a machine, on like a closed range or something like that? That's interesting. Now, during the testing, some M500s were created to better match the MIL spec, which came at an increased cost. So even if they were able to get around the MIL spec, it would basically kind of be counterproductive to what they're trying to do, because they wanted to sell a cheap gun to them to make money. So if they have to make it expensive to meet those standards, then they're not making any money on it. What'd you say here? No competition shotgun matches yet. I have a Beretta A300 Ultima. Ooh, okay. I gotcha. The Ultima is really cool. I like that. I was actually just looking at that earlier. Now let's see here. The M500 began to be purchased by the U.S. military in limited numbers, with the first order consisting of approximately 5,900 shotguns for the Navy and Coast Guard. That's pretty cool. Now, to maintain its low cost, Mossberg continued to produce the M500 for civilian and police markets, and in 1987 designed the M590 specifically for military use. Okay. Now, in response to a Navy request, the M590 was modified with a thickened barrel, extended magazine, barrel shroud, and bayonet lug. Okay, that is badass. The military basically went back to the drawing board and wanted them to put a spot to fix a bayonet on a shotgun. That is freaking terrifying. Just to think of ever having to use that combo right there is insane. My favorite shotgun? Right on, dude. I'm trying to think. I honestly do think the 500 is probably one of my favorites. That was my first shotgun, was a 500 with a pistol grip. And it was so easy because it had a pistol grip, and then you just put a bolt in the bottom of the pistol grip and then unscrew the bolt. It was like this long, and then you can put a stock on. And I don't know, it was really cool. It was a fun gun. My very first gun, actually. Um, yeah, so um, the new model, the M590A1, became the standard shotgun for the United States military. Now, replacements for the M500 came as early as 1999 when the Marine Corps adopted the semi automatic M1014 combat shotgun, which basically became standard issue by, it looks like, 2001. And in 1997, the Army began to develop the M26 modular accessory shotgun system, which is an underbarrel shotgun designed for use on the M4 carbine. That is so cool. I always forget when you go back and play some of those Call of Duty games, they have the carbine with the shotgun attachment, and you just like click on the D-pad to change it to the shotgun real quick. That is awesome. I miss that. Um, so it says now that they were developing the underbarrel shotgun designed for use with the M14 carbine, and it could also be used as a standalone weapon. The MASS first entered service in 2010 despite the competing shotgun designs, including other pump action models such as the Remington Model 870 and the Winchester Model 1200. Mossberg shotguns continue to see usage in various American military branches until it looks like 2010. Now, the M500 and M590 shotguns were first used during the 1991 Gulf War, wherein they were used to defend U.S. military supply depots. Also, in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the M500 shotguns were primarily used for breaking locks during door breaches. Now, in 2009, the U.S. Army Special Forces Group procured military enhancement kits to provide a standardized shotgun configuration based on the 500. The kits included a collapsible stock, a shotgun retention system, a 1913 receiver rail, 4 end rail system, and breeching barrels. A total of 1,301 shotguns were converted, with the first unit being equipped in 2009. The majority of the kits converted the standard issue shotgun to a 14-inch compact model with a 16-inch accessory breeching barrel. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so there's a bunch of different like kinds of Mossbergs. Like it says, they have the 500, 590, 590A1. There's a Bantam and Super Bantam model. The standard 500 uses a 14-inch, and the Bantam models are using a 13-inch stock, so it's just a little bit smaller. They have the 505, which is the youth shotgun, the 535, which has a lengthened receiver, and can also fire a couple different types of shells. Yeah, there's a lot of different types of the 500. That's why I like, the variability on it. The law enforcement models are all those 590A1s. Those ones are all really cool. But yeah, all right, that's going to be it today. My name is Deonda B Pro, the best in the Midwest. If you're just tuning in, that sucks, my bad. Go ahead and subscribe, like, and follow. Go check out all my memes, my shorts, and go check out my gun reviews. I've just done a Hi-Point C9 review. Is it trash or does it smash? And then I just did a review on this Heritage right here as well. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. It was a quick live today, but I gotta go get some grub because I am dying. That'll take